That was Professor Chidi Odinkalu speaking about the argument as to whether or not and how perhaps to deploy the military for the elections. But let's start off with that as we're joined by retired Brigadier General Williams Obene, who joins us from our studios in Abuja. He's a former commandant of the Nigerian Army School of Infantry, as well as a counter-terrorism expert. Good morning. Thank you for joining us today. Let's start off from this argument, whether or not to deploy the military. It's been making the rounds for a while now. What do you think of the whole argument?
Well, I think the constitutional right to deploy the armies, both in time and in wartime. The Nigerian military is also constitutionally empowered to provide aid to civil authority in terms of national emergency and all types of insecurity situations that the country may face from time to time. So it's confusing for some of us, the argument by lawyers or by court to deny Mr. President his constitutional right to exercise that discretion. I want to say that, politicians, have penetrated the judiciary. They are trying as much as possible also to penetrate the Nigerian military. But as a commander-in-chief, one would expect that he will exercise these rights as given to him by the ground norm. I'm not a lawyer, but you see, it makes a mockery of the whole issue, where a court judgment will want to supersede the ground norm, the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And I think it's there for the Supreme Court and lawyers or judges to resolve the matter and not to confuse most of us. I think that the president has a right, if it's expedient, to deploy the military. Is the military accused of being involved or being partisan in elections? Are there antecedents? Are there history to show? Or is there history to show that the military had been partisan? If not, then the military should be at their duty post while elections are going on. I have a personal experience. When I was brigade commander in Sokoto, the military initially, we were not given instruction to support the electoral process. But the governor then discovered that, look, the populace are not scared of the Nigeria police. I do not intend to denigrate the Nigeria police, but they are not scared of the Nigeria police because they are part of them. They see them every day. But the military were always in the barracks. So when we come out, it sends a very strong signal. And I tell you that that Sokoto election was very peaceful because the military was on standby to help the police and the civil authority for a peaceful election. And I think that based on that, we should not be too sentimental. As far as we have that strong conviction that the military will be unbiased, will be very dispassionate, then they should be deployed to safeguard safety. And I want to totally agree with what Dr. Carlo has just said. That look, a lot of Nigerians will not have the confidence to go out to the street if they know that the military is not present, because we know the antecedents of politicians too.
Well, one other thing also popped up while he was speaking there, much as he cited all of those references about the military's deployment, but the part where the argument also takes a different dimension is the partisan nature, or perhaps partisan purpose, if we could refer to that as such, because those who have argued saying don't deploy, first they cite the court judgments that have gone on, and then they say, given certain commentary and materials being circulated everywhere, they predicate the argument also partly on that one, as saying, look, that to them is evidence of the partisan nature of the military.
I do not share in your thoughts. First and foremost, for laymen like us, the lawyers tell us that the Constitution is the ground norm, and any decision of a court that runs contrary to the ground norm is null and void. So I don't think there is even any basis for argument on that. That's my take on that. Now, like I said before, let us look at the history of the Nigerian military in taking part in elections. I want to give it to you for free that the Nigerian military itself, is a democratic. The present crop of officers are democratic soldiers, and we fared better, or we're faring better in a democracy than in a military regime. And the military has taken it upon itself to even publish documents of code of conduct for military personnel that will take part in elections. The military has also, since 1999, the military has undertaken transformation to better serve the Nigerian nation and democracy. Is it the type of people that you are now saying that they'll compromise? What are the records to show that the military has compromised by snatching ballot boxes or following politicians to thumbprint? I mean, we should not denigrate our military. This military came out from the society, and at retirement, they'll go back to the society. So we should encourage the military to play its role. Like I said in a previous interview, if the Nigerian police were to be very strong and well-trained, it will take off, some of the responsibilities that the Nigerian military is involved in. The Nigerian military is all over this country because, politicians refuse to take care of, or the government refuse to take care of the police. And at a time, the Nigerian military too will be watered down. But these are constitutional issues that we're talking about. The Nigerian military is not saying that we want to take part in election. That's not what they're saying. But the Constitution provides that Mr. President has the constitutional right to deploy the military. And that discretion cannot be taken away from him by a mere pronouncement of court. I'm not a lawyer. But common sense, shows that you can't do that. He has that. Is he doing it to his advantage? Let it be proved. Is he doing it to disadvantage of politicians? Let it be proved. Except that, for the purpose of peace, and it has been said all over and over again that why Osun election was very peaceful and people were confident to come out was because they saw the military, and there was no single incident of any soldier falling out of line. So we should give credit to the military and encourage them to carry out their constitutional role. If it is not their constitutional, let it be changed and let them stay at home and let the police carry out their functions. I think that is my take on that.
Well, anyway, I think we've seen a series of elections in the country, and this is the first time we get to hear this argument against the military being part of this particular election. Perhaps we should go back to a particular issue. We really can't discuss this in isolation. And you just brought in Osun State as a typical example. Why don't we also look at the story that has been making the rounds concerning the elections that went on in Ekiti State? Don't you think that this whole argument is based on what has still not been cleared concerning the involvement of a military personnel and some of his subordinates in that particular election?
See, the deployment of the military for elections is not for the public to argue. That's the point I'm trying to make. It is Mr. President's discretion.
I know. Just allow me comment again. Sorry to butt in. Maybe you don't get my point here. I'm saying that so many Nigerians haven't actually brought up this argument before now. And I'm saying, don't you think that this is as a result of what has happened in just recently concerning, the involvement of some military officers in the Ekiti election?
I do not think so. You cannot tell me that because there were one or two altercations, public opinion now overrides the constitutional right of Mr. President. It is not done. We are running a society of laws. And so let the law prevail. We cannot, except it is changed that because of Ekiti election, the military misbehaved, and therefore the constitution should be changed The assembly is there to change it. As long as that is not changed, no matter how the public cries, if Mr. President wants to deploy the military for peaceful purposes, he has the constitutional right to do that. We are not talking of sentiments. We're talking of written document, the ground norm that everybody respects, and Mr. President swore to defend.